This is Dent Station. It's situated on the Settle to Carlisle Railway and one of the most dramatic routes in Britain. And just looking down at the station, if you want to buy it, this one is currently for sale. I think there must be a train coming any minute, because the elderly gentleman just come racing past here on foot, and he's gone across to the station there and just waiting, so I shall wait a little bit now to see if there's a train come. So it'd be good to catch it on video. Well, the views up here are magnificent. Must be one of the best sighted railway stations I've ever seen, actually. Well, this is the sparkling waters of the River Dee, and noticeable here is all the rock formations which have been carved by the water going over them, all nice and smooth. But also the river is flowing east to west towards the Irish Sea, where the river wharf went west to east as it reached the watershed on the moorland yesterday. Well, the sun's shining, time for the sun hat. Well, now walking past a dense and dank conifer forest, and you can smell the sort of the pine in the air, which is quite pleasant, although it's probably not so pleasant inside the forest itself. But there's pleasant sort of coolness here away from the sun, which is it's only early morning and the sun's quite warm already. So I think I'm in for a really lovely day today. Surprising who you see on a walk. I think they were llamas. Had a nice haircut anyway. Quite smart little things. Well, I've come off the Tarmac Road, now walking across a nice little pasture land towards Lenny's Leap. I think it's a footbridge. This is called Lenny's Leap. On a small footbridge over quite a shallow little River Dee at the moment. It's hardly moving at all. Very unusual, this little river. So now cast over a field where Tip was cutting his hay. Very kind of me pointing me in the right direction as he'd covered over the footpath. Well, after crossing the fields, this is a little footpath called Tommy's Bridge. And as you see, the river is in full flow again. Who's gone all camera shy? Well, this River Dee is quite a curious river. One minute it's fast flowing, next minute it's disappeared like here, completely just empty of water, just a land of boulders. All I can think of, it must be an underground stream taking it underneath, and no doubt we shall meet up with it again shortly. I'm now approaching the village of Dent. This bench is made from desktops from the Dent Camera School. Some of the graves here are holding about 8 people, named on the gravestone. I've just had a delightful little lunch break in Dent. It's a lovely white-washed walled stone buildings with cobbled streets. With in the church there's a whole details of the history of the village, and there's a lot of history to this village. It's just off the Dales Way walk, so it's only a couple of minutes and you're in the village, so it's well worth looking at. There's nice gift shops and ice cream shops and cafes and so on, so recommended. Well, some gates are easy to get through with a backpack and some are very, very tight. And the very attractive rugged hills in the distance are known as Helm's Knot. Local pub. Well, I've just negotiated a whole series of fields and stone stiles. Went for a field of a lovely bull and his herd of cows and calves. And we're now well on our way to Millthrop, and my final destination today is Sedbergh. Well, as I progress across lots of the fields, I've seen a lot of the farmers are cutting their hay. This could be the second crop of hay this year. So I know back in Somerset they've already cut their hay quite a while back. So I think because everywhere's so green and lush, I suppose they are getting a second cut. Well, I'm almost completed my field walking on this expedition. And I'm now heading through Gap Wood. Now this comprises mostly of beech and oak trees. Quite mature ones as well. So we're not too far away from Millthrop now. I've made it to the Bull Hotel in Sedbergh, and I'm enjoying a nice cup of tea. I've actually left Dentdale, we're now in Lakeland. So we've got 2 more days to go before we reach the Lake Windermere in Cumbria, and we pedometer today 23,690 steps, so it's quite a few. Not as long a journey today as it was yesterday, and not as hard, and what absolutely beautiful area Dentdale is. Well, hello and welcome once again to the Dales Way trip. Now, I've just left the hustle and bustle of the town of Sedbergh. It's quite a nosy little town, even at night when I'm actually set in the Bull Hotel right in the middle of town. So it's really glad to get out on my walk. Now today I'm walking all the way to Burnside, distance of around about 17 miles. You're going to see the Howgill Fells on the right of me, and we're walking beside a different river. Well, temperature's already been mentioned on the telly this morning at 27 degrees today, so it's going to be a very hot day, and I know there's not much refreshment or refreshment shops or anything like that on the route, so it's quite pleasant at the moment to come in underneath this wooded area. I can already see a river down the bottom. I think I'm going to join the River Dee later on, and I know I've got the River Loon. I'm not sure whether it's a Staveley. All the rivers join together somewhere along the route, so let's get on our way. Well, this is quite an interesting walkway. It's through the woodland, but you've got two stony walls either side of the little track. Now I'm walking through the parkland of a former stately house called Acke House. There are one or two little structures here which still remain from them days of the house being here. Especially this one which I saw earlier from the top of the hill. This is a little folly tower. And as always on this route, we've got magnificent views all around us. This is the dashing River Roffey, on its way to meet the River Dee before heading along to meet the River Loon. Well, I've just passed the mill, and according to one guidebook it says go across to the stile on the left. Well, there's no stile. There is a sign, however, to the Roffey Way, which is what I'm now following, and there's no sign for the Dales Way either. So according to the book, we're on the right direction. It's a bit overgrown here, just gone past a very smelly sewage works, which is also shown on the book, but I think apparently it should open up soon, and we should see where the River Roffey joins the River Dee. Well, sure enough, it opens out into a lovely field. How do you do? Good morning to you, little sheepies. And you've got the lovely River Roffey beside us. I know it's me little East Anglian accent mixed in with Somerset, and I do say around us, and I do mean around me because I'm by myself. I don't know if you noticed the difference in the rivers. This one is crystal clear, the River Roffey, where the River Wharf, further on down in the Upper Wharf Valley which we met earlier on, was very browny colour from the peat which is off the moorland. Now the River Dee in front of me is the River Dee, that disappearing river which we followed yesterday, which kept disappearing between boulders, and it's now joining the River Roffey here, on its way to meet the River Loon. Well, the Dales Way now continues over this embankment. Now this is a former railway line now disused, which used to run all the way from Ingleton. Now back through the undergrowth on the other side. Watch out for the brambles. Getting quite overgrown here in July. Very overgrown in fact. You can hardly see the track. This is where you get wet feet as well if it's been raining before, or like this morning, the wet dew on the grass. Wow, I've just come out of the damp overgrown footpath onto this field, and just looking back over towards the river, there's a single arched viaduct used to carry the line right across the river. Well, you can't quite see it from here, but just behind me in the distance is a little village called Footpaths. Now I'm going to read from the book if you don't mind. There's a little hamlet which is, was a place where flax was spun to be woven into linen until 1652, when a certain gentleman called George Fox came here to preach a new version of Christianity, and he formed Quakerism. Now it was a sort of outlawed at the day in that sort of time of different religions. So various friends from the Sigburg came here, and they built their houses ready to preach in, and the houses are still here now. There's no direct walk access to the village without going on the main road, but we now hit a little road here, and just beyond here is another stately home. It's a kind of a Gothic lodge, which unfortunately now is a caravan park. So we're just going to walk down the road for a little way, and then we'll get off the road back onto our route. And just in the distance is this stately Gothic style house, which unfortunately has a caravan park next to it. Well, I've just had to negotiate a very bendy, quite dangerous section of road. Cars race along there, so be very careful. Well, I've just passed through another little set of cottages. Look like former mill cottages again, because they're all sort of fairly close together and all made of stone. Now going down this lovely little green lane. This is what I mean when you've got to have a guidebook with you, with no distinct way mark for the Dales Way in certain areas. By having the Dales Way guide of any description, we actually go ahead towards Lincoln's Bridge. Lincoln's Inn Bridge. Well, just behind me is the delightful looking Lincoln's Inn Bridge, and beneath it the river is the River Loon. What a lovely stretch of river this River Loon is. It must be very good water. It's absolutely teeming with little fish. Well, just behind me is the very delightful iron viaduct known as the Loon Viaduct, going over the River Loon. It's much more grander than the last one we saw. And just beneath me I've got to cross a little ford. So far it's been a really delightful walk. We've crossed lots of different pasture land, which has been completely different scenery to what we've seen previously. The fields here have still got stone walls, but they're larger. But it's more up and down, quite undulating hills, magnificent views around, and we're not far away from the Howgill Fells to the right of us. Well, I've just found a lovely little spot here to sit and have my lunch, right beside the River Loon. So if you feel like it, you can take your boots off and have a little paddle. Quite a lot of fish in there, especially trout, and occasionally I can see the larger ones breaking the surface of the water, grabbing the flies as they're sitting on top. And here's another railway viaduct. And I can hear the roar of the traffic in the distance. We're not far from the M6 motorway. This wonderful looking bridge is the Crook of Loon Bridge. I just passed through a beautiful area known as the Crook of Loon, and it's really the shape of the river. It's like a shepherd's crook, the way the river bends round. That's why it's called the Crook of Loon. Just past a little bridge, pool house. He's now got the familiar slates on the roof, a bit more like Lakeland as we're heading towards Lakeland now. Now just here there's another viaduct, an old railway viaduct, and I can see the heavy traffic on the M6, so we're not far from there either. Well, I finally managed to get over the M6 motorway. It's been quite a long way walking beside it across the fields before I actually went across on a little footbridge. Then come across various bits of farmland, several with horses in the ground as well, and through a little farmyard. Now we're heading across some more arable land where they've actually cut the hay. Well, it's a very, very hot afternoon. I wish I could carry more drink with me, but I'm only sort of limited to how much I can carry at a time. Otherwise you've got to have an extra shopping bag with drink inside it. It would be nice if there was a refreshment stop somewhere along the way, maybe at a farm, if they could provide refreshments. Even if they trusted people to put money in a box for cold drinks or something would be nice. Or if they had a running tap water, so you can fill up your bottle with cold water. And again, leave a little money box for people to put money in. I think most people would be very trustworthy in doing that. Most walkers are, I think. They're not a bad lot, really. Well, I've just passed through a lovely cool area of rhododendron bushes in a little woodland, right near Mooresdale Hall. Well, I've just been reading through my guidebook. It says that there's a refreshment stand at Fursgill Farm. I don't know, I think the guidebook's 2 or 3 years old. I'm hoping that the refreshment stand's still there, because I'd certainly get my custom today. Absolutely parched. I'm almost out of drink now. I keep tucking in now and again. I'm trying to preserve one last little carton of orange juice to the last minute. So if I can get refreshments at Fursgill Farm, it'd be very appreciated. Well, I've actually reached Fursgill Farm, just up the road from it, and sure enough there's a little container with bottles of fizzy drink in for 50p each. Pardon me. Much appreciated. It's really, really nice that someone should think of us walkers on the route. I really appreciate what they do for us. My journey now consists of undulating, grassy green fields which are in need of a good cut for hay. And this footbridge gives us our brief encounter with the delightful sounding River Mint. This very elegant house is called Shaw's End. This little pond here is called Black Moss Tarn, and unfortunately as I come over this wall 2 herons were startled, so I couldn't catch them on video. Well, I'm almost at my destination at Burnside. I've phoned up the Jolly Anglers Inn where I'm staying tonight just to tell them I'm on my way and get the beer out, and they are expecting me, thank goodness. So at least I know I'm going to have a nice warm bed to lay in tonight, so I'm going to put my weary legs down. So that's it for today. I shall shut off the camera now And we'll start up again on the final leg of the trip to the Lake Windermere. Well, welcome to my last day on the Dales Way video diary. We've got about 10 miles today when I've done 17 yesterday, which is quite a stretch. Now leaving Burnside, heading towards Bowness on Windermere. First section of the walk is following a perimeter boundary of the Burnside printing works, quite an old establishment. I have to make my way through quite a lot of thistles at the moment, all in flower, several with bees on top, quite active little bees at the moment. If anybody come through here in shorts, I've got long trousers on and they're still pricking my legs. Lots of colourful little flowers. Lots of colourful little flowers en route. I don't know what a lot of them are, but they are nice to see. They're all attracting the bees at the moment. I think these might be marsh marigolds. And now an open field crossing. Well, once again I'm being lucky with the weather. Apart from the first hiccup on the very first day, which was the wet, I've had glorious weather all week, between the 4th and the 11th of July. Obviously that includes me travelling up and back home again. But today they forecast a temperature of about 27 degrees and it's already hot. And I've only been going about 10 minutes from the guest house. And this is a lovely little river here. I think this is the Loon. Quite still at the moment. Though the river's quite still today, I could imagine it being quite a roaring river at one time, looking at this tree stump where the ground has gone away from underneath the tree roots. Well, actually, I've just been looking at my guidebook. This is actually a mill stream, it's not the proper river. The proper river is a bit further ahead, next to a weir, and the river is called the River Kent, of all things. It's a bit unusual. Oh yeah, it looks very much like a river. It's flowing quite fast at this point. There could be a possibility of seeing kingfishers further along, but they're such a fast bird, I'll be very lucky to get one on film. Well, I've now crossed over the river on the other side, gone for a little village, and on the opposite side of the river, it's a bit elusive at the moment, just to the right of me now. But I think we're going to catch up with it a bit further up. A nice little country lane at the moment, little green lane. I'm now walking down a Tarmac Lane. This road is in fact laid down on the track bed of a former industrial light railway which ran between the Kent and Windermere mills. Like most mills are found along this route which are disused, they're turned into housing developments. This is the River Kent. I believe that's a young dipper, waiting for its mum to come and feed it. I'm sorry about the shaky camera work, it's because I'm holding the camera handheld at full telephoto range. And I've got to breathe in and out, so the slightest movement is making the camera move. These are quite elusive birds to capture on video, so I'm quite happy that I've got this little dipper on video. Nice if its mother turned up soon. My arms is getting bit all over waiting for this little baby's mother to turn up to feed it. I've been standing there about 5 minutes. I may have to leave the bird and it'll probably turn up when I go. Booties are walking along this Dales Way. We get a variety of scenery through different rivers, and the different types of wildlife you see is tremendous. Capture it on video is another thing though, it's a bit elusive at times. Oh, look at all the flies in the air above it. I suppose I could be mistaken, it could be an adult dipper just taking a break like me. I did have a couple of walkers waiting behind me to go by, so I've given up filming the dipper now, and they're very kind. They didn't want to float the dipper away by walking past. So now I've captured it on video. It's several types of animal that I'm very keen to capture on video. As yet I haven't got foxes. They're fox cubs playing. That's one I'd love to capture on video one day. On the bird population side, the dipper is one which I did want to capture, and the heron as well, which I've done this morning. So maybe one day I can capture a heron catching a fish, which would be the cream of the cake for me. And the elusive kingfisher, I've seen some down in Norfolk, where I originally come from, and apparently there should be some down on this river. But to capture them on video, I think you'd need a lot of patience and know exactly where they're going to sit on their little perch in the daytime. And unfortunately on the walk, you've got to go along so far, reach your destination points, you don't have the time to sit and wait. This is quite a nice cool spot here. Just the other side of the River Kent is the Staveley sewage works. Now, I'll read again from my little guidebook. Staveley is an attractive spot, mercifully released from holiday traffic by the bypass. Its main feature is the tower built in 1388. A notice in the local pub recalls that in 1872 the Reverend Tom Bell caught a freshwater basking shark in the River Kent. Special trains were to run to view the £250 monster. I wonder whether it's stuffed and put on a wall somewhere or eaten. Anyway, lovely. Oh, that was a nice little hill to climb. Well, I've left Staveley behind. I nipped into the village and got myself a drink from this local shop, which is ideal. It's open on a Sunday, a little spa shop. And now we're heading towards the lakes. Well, I finally made it up this little hillock, and the views are magnificent. The views are panoramic all around me, all the way to the Howgill Fells and the Langdales and far beyond. Lakeland beckons that way, so I'm on my way, almost there. Well, Dentdale and Grassington are way behind me now. And I've only got a few more miles before I hit Lakeland and Lake Windermere, my destination. Well, as you see, heading towards Lakeland, we get more squarer fields and more rocky outcrops, sort of the hillocks. Well, I'm almost at the end of my journey along the 84 miles of the Dales Way. This is my first long distance trail that I've undertaken in one go. I think I've got walker's legs now. My back and leg muscles are really sort of stiffened up a treat, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I will do lots more long distance walk as well in one go like this. My final destination just over there is Lake Windermere, surrounded by the conifer trees. And I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me as well. Hope you've enjoyed all the scenery that I have, and maybe you do it for real rather than virtual, as you are on this film. We're not there yet. We've still got Lake Windermere to see, and if I get a chance, I'd like to go on a boat ride. Be a nice fitting end to a long distance trail. Cheers to the Dales Way. There she is, the first view of Lake Windermere. After 6 days of travelling the Dales way, we finally make the end. 84 miles down the line.